Hey, buenos dias, ¿qué onda? ¿Qué pasó, amigos? Welcome back, John's Moto Garage. So, as you can see, I survived my first ever stunt group ride, and I'm going to tell you all about it. Stay tuned to see, did I like it, did I hate it? And at the very end, I'll tell you if I ever plan on doing another one of these rides. So, let's go ahead and jump into it. But first, if you haven't already, like and subscribe. It helps out the channel tremendously. Much thanks. All right, just to recap. So, yesterday here in Arizona was the 2020 Beat the Heat stunt ride, group ride. It's here in Arizona. It's put together by Abrupt Stunts, aka Kevin. He's one of the OG stunt riders here local, and it was pretty gnarly. They did a night ride on Friday, which I was working Friday night, and then Saturday was the group ride, and it did not go off without a hit, at least for my part. I thought it was starting at 9 o'clock in the morning based on the message I saw, so I showed up at this spot at 9 o'clock. There were only like a handful of us dudes there. We're like, dude, is this actually going down, or was this like a decoy spot? Like, what's happening? Come to find out, that was the Instagram post for the night before. They keep these things low key on the download. They don't release the meetup spot until the very last minute, and obviously that's to avoid getting busted and having it shut down before it starts. So anyway, I had worked 12 hours leading up to it, and when I saw that it was at 9 o'clock in the morning, I was like, oh crap, I gotta run home. So I ran home, grabbed all my stuff, and jumped right back on the bike, and then drove up an hour north to this meetup spot, only to find out around 10 o'clock that the meetup's actually at 12:30 at another spot. So I went to Cruzy Originals. There were a bunch of dudes there. I popped a couple Red Bulls to stay awake, and it was a really good time regardless. Finally, we met up for the actual stunt ride, and there's tons of people. And I think the show, I don't know this year if there were way more people than normal or if it was a slightly fewer people. I honestly have no idea, because I've never been out there before. But a lot of people for sure. And we stand around, hang out, talk to people. I saw a few of the local subs as well as some subs that came in from other states that introduced themselves. So big shout out to all you guys. Thanks for coming up and talking to me at the place. It was a lot of fun. One of the coolest things was meeting a lot of the locals, both subs and other people who I follow like on Instagram and stuff. It was really just cool hanging out, talking to people, and yeah, and chatting. I got to meet JB Stunts, which if you don't know him, the dude kills it out of Las Vegas. Dom829 of course was there. Seabear Stunts was there. Abrupt Stunts, like a lot of the heavy hitters in the stunt game were out there. So it was cool to hang out with those dudes. Finally, the ride took off, and there's just tons and tons of people. You can imagine it's super loud with all the motorcycles. And once you hit the road, dude, it is absolutely insane, like pure insanity. There's bikes all over the place. You got to be watching in front of you, to the sides, checking your rearview mirrors, watching behind you. You got people up on one wheel zipping by. It is just absolutely insane. But at the same time, it is somewhat of a controlled chaos. And I understand from the outside looking in, it just looks like pure recklessness and insanity. But I do think it's kind of a controlled chaos, and the closest analogy I can come up with is it's kind of like a funeral procession in a sense, where you have roads being blocked and you have tons of people on the road, but it is organized and planned. So the event planner, Abrupt Stunts, before the ride takes off, he goes over some key things. For example, if you're new, don't be doing wheelies and stupid stuff when you don't have control. Obviously, there are those dudes who do it, but you shouldn't be doing it. Otherwise, he also talks about newer riders who are going to be trying that stuff be at the very back, so that way you're not like running into people and causing wrecks in the middle in front of the pack. Anyway, there's all these rules to it. Additionally, you have people in cars that are following. So when somebody does go down, they immediately get the bike loaded up, get the person loaded up, make sure they're okay. If need be, take them to the hospital. So it's all very well organized, despite that it is pretty chaotic at the same time. There were about 4 or 5 accidents. If I'm not mistaken, to my knowledge, everybody was okay. I know one dude I think was taken to the hospital, and so there's definitely risk involved. Honestly, while I was out there riding, my thought was I have no business being out here, because it is just absolute, it is crazy, definitely crazy. And the dudes who are actually ripping wheelies and stuff, you have to have a really high level of skill to be doing that, and I just don't think I'm anywhere close. And so I did try like 1 or 2 wheelies only with like a lot of room, and even then I was just like, nah, this ain't the place for me. So it was crazy doing it, and it was a wild experience, and it was cool to see all the people doing their crazy stuff. I got some clips, nothing super awesome, but I saw other people like Smash Stunts and got some clips of them. So all that was wild and cool. A good experience. Personally, especially with where my skill level is right now, I'm a much bigger fan of just like going out to a spot, riding with like 5 or 6 buddies and practicing and learning my skills. but I could totally see the appeal to riders who've been doing it a long time and have the control. I can see the appeal to these big rides because, again, like a funeral procession, the way they do it is, if we come up to a light and it's red, you stop. But if the group's going through and it turns red, midway through, you have people blocking the streets, so the whole crew goes through. You got people coming out on the streets filming and cheering you on and stuff. I'm sure you have some drivers that are pissed off. We didn't hit the freeways. We kept to surface streets, and so that was that was how it went down. It was a wild experience for sure. I ended up breaking off from the pack after like 2 hours. I was like, I gotta dip out and head home. But they kept doing it, man. The stamina, it's pretty wild. And so that was it. I will put a video together, like I said, with the highlight clips and all that stuff. Maybe some of the vlogging I did along the way. And the big question, will I ever do it again? I think I will at some point in the future, but I'm not likely anytime soon gonna like travel out of state to hit one of these big rides. But there's a chance in the future I would do it again, more in support of the community side. If I ever get my wheelies to a point where I feel comfortable, then maybe I'll start ripping during these group rides. But the last thing I want to do is cause an accident or crash myself in that setting. It's very dangerous. Just riding alone, you run the risk of getting hurt like that. So there it is, my first group ride, and overall it was a good experience, and it was and it opened my eyes a little bit to that side of riding, because I'll admit I had my reservations. Again, from the outside looking in, my perception of group rides was one of thinking it's kind of reckless and irresponsible. Being a part of it and taking part in it, I can now see that it's not as reckless or irresponsible that I thought it was, especially when you have these organizers that really do a good job organizing it and having it set up. You're not shutting down streets, you're not blocking traffic for more than what somebody would be waiting for a funeral, really. And so in that regard, I definitely walked away thinking a little bit differently than I did before about group rides. So there you have it. What are your thoughts on group rides? Love them, hate them? Have you done them before? Have you been a part of these stunt rides? Have you been affected by it in one way or another? Maybe you got stuck in traffic because there was a group of stunt riders going through. Let me know what you guys think about this whole thing. It was new for me, that's for sure. Like and subscribe if you dig. I appreciate all the support. Again, big shout out to Brup Stunts for putting that ride together. It was epic, it was insane, it was definitely crazy, and I think that's gonna do it. Stay tuned, I will do a compilation video showing the highlights soon. Adios, hasta luego, nos vemos.